Hello, my lovely friends, my cloud enthusiasts. How are you all doing? I hope you all are at the best of your health. And here's Tejas wishing you all a happy, prosperous, and a fun-filled new year. Guys, today we are going to learn something that we left few days ago when we tried creating a bucket, an S3 bucket using Terraform. We promised that we'll come up with some new ways to create the S3 bucket, and that was using the CDK and using the command line interface. Now CDK stands for Cloud Development Kit. It is provided by Amazon. It is similar to any other development kit that we use already, and you can use different languages in that and then create your own infrastructure. Now CDK internally it uses CloudFormation to create the infrastructure. Now CloudFormation is one of the IAC tools that is within the Amazon. It is Amazon specific, and that's the reason why we used Terraform, which is vendor agnostic. It is not tied to a specific vendor, and that's the reason why we had used Terraform in our previous video where we created an S3 bucket using the Terraform. Alright guys, let's start with the AWS S3 deployment. When I say S3 deployment, it means creating a bucket, and we are using the CLI and the Cloud Development Kit. But before we do, like usually every time that we do here, there's a quick introduction about me. Hi friends, my name is Tejas and I'm the cloud expert, cloud simplifier. I try to simplify the cloud for you, and I have a channel on YouTube. It's called the Cloud Minds, wherein I try to provide everything, all the information to you right from the basic to gain a mastery over it. Alright guys, let's go ahead and look at what all do we require in order for us to perform or create an S3 bucket using the Cloud Development Kit. Now guys, here I have provided some prerequisites. These are really required so that you can install the Cloud Development Kit and use it along with, there is a scripting language called TypeScript. You can later use how do you want to deploy the CDK and the CLI, etc. So everything here that is required is provided as a prerequisite. I love using Git Bash. It's simple to use. I can just use it as a command line interface. The way we use Bash in Linux, it is a similar thing that we can use on Windows. Now the machine that I have currently is a Windows machine, and I love using Git Bash on Windows guys. It makes pretty simple, because when I started my journey, when I started my career, I started with using Linux based commands, and I'm pretty confident, pretty comfortable with that. And because most of the scripting languages usually are very comfortable with the Linux languages, with the scripting that we do or the commands that we provide in that language, and I'm pretty comfortable using that. That's the reason why I have provided here to download and install Git Bash. It's pretty easy. If you really want to learn it, it might take dedicated a day or two for you to get an entire mastery on the Git Bash. It's that simple guys. Alright, the next thing that we need is an NPM. Now why do we need NPM? Because it has a lot of modules, latest modules. That's the reason why we need Node.js NPM. Now again, as I said, we need NPM in order to install TypeScript, in order to do many commands we need to follow. That's the reason why we are requesting you to go ahead and install NPM, and there are a lot of things that we can do using the NPM. I'll show you the commands as well, wherein you can provide using the NPM, and you can get all the libraries and all the details that are required in order to run the CDK guys. Okay, and the next thing that we require, the last thing that we require is download and install the AWS CDK. Now you can do this using the command line as well on the Windows machine. The command that I've provided is here. It will automatically download and install, and it will also update your environment path in your environment settings. It will update the path in your environment settings. You don't have to do anything. everything will be done automatically, and then everything will be configured for you. Alright guys, now what is AWS CDK? It is, as I said, it is cloud development kit. It has everything. There are so many commands that we are going to use and create an S3 bucket using the AWS CDK. Now as I said guys, you would need npm, you would need CDK, you need TypeScript, and you would need AWS CLI. Alright, now let me show you. Now if you go to this, these are all the commands as I said, and we are going to do a quick live demo. If you look at this, now I head over to the AWS management console right now, and you can see that there is no bucket as of now. If you can just refresh, it says there are no buckets as such. And this is the git bash that I'm going to use. So first of all, we need to check if we have npm. And if we do not have npm, it will throw us an error saying that there is no npm installed. And what now we need to understand if we have AWS. Now before we do anything with that, we just need to understand we do have npm, we do have CDK, we do have AWS CLI downloaded and installed. And then the very first thing that you need to do is go ahead in your AWS IAM and get a key value pair. Now what is a key value pair? Now this, we have already discussed this in our previous video, where we have to create a key value pair in order for you to connect to AWS environment, your own environment, in order to connect your laptop or your programming systems that you are currently using to the AWS. You would really need the key pair, and that's the reason why we have to create a key pair and then download the key pair and keep it safely somewhere, because once the key pair is removed from your view on the AWS management console, AWS doesn't store the key pair. It's only the key that it stores, not the value or the passcode. It doesn't store it. So you have to make sure that you download it as a CSV or any other file format that you require. Alright guys, the first thing that you need to do here, after you have downloaded npm, after you have downloaded the AWS CLI, etc., the first thing you need to do is do an AWS configure. Yeah, that's the first command that I've provided here. Now it will tell me that is this the AWS access key ID. Now the access key ID, you can find it in the CSV or the PDF that you have downloaded when you have created the key value pair. I say yes, and then it says there is the secret access key that I have to provide here. If it is different, then I provide here, otherwise it will use this as the default. I say yes. Now the default region, it needs a region in order for you to create the infrastructure, so I'll provide US East 1. I'm very comfortable with it. And the output format, because when we create any infrastructure using the CDK, it actually creates a cloud formation template, and the template or all of the details in the template are saved in a format. And here I have provided JSON as a format. You can provide any format that you like. The format that it accepts is TXT, CSV, JSON. These all are I've tried, but I'm very comfortable using JSON. That's the reason why I said I'll go ahead and use JSON. Alright guys, now I have configured AWS. Configure when I mean now my machine or this git bash can talk to the AWS account that I have. Now how did I do that? As I said, I went to the AEM, I created the role, and then I created the AWS key pair. I downloaded it, I have configured it here. Now if I say AWS, so when I say AWS S3LS, it is not showing anything as of now, because if you see, there are no buckets as of now. Now let's go ahead and create a test bucket, and I can call this as my test bucket, and I can provide today's date, which is 09/01/2024, and I can provide the time as 15:21. This makes it unique because, as we know, the bucket names have to be unique. Now let's go ahead and try and create this bucket. Let's see if this is a unique name. If the name is unique, it will allow us to create the bucket. Yes, it has created the bucket, and if you can see, the bucket is created with the same name. Now if I go back to AWS, if I run the same command AWS S3LS, it should ideally give me that bucket name, because the bucket is created in my account. Yes, it has given me the name of this bucket. Alright guys, let's go ahead and try and understand what are the next steps that we need to do. So if you go here and see, we have done AWS S3LS, that's the command. Now the next thing that we need to do is create a directory, which I have already done. The steps 3, 4 and 5 and 6, I have already done them for you because I had to do some experiment before I could show you guys. So I have already done that. So if I say present working directory, this is the directory that I am currently. So if I say cd AWS CDK project, I'm already there. So if I say lib, for example, it will show, and I can say ls-la, and it will show that I have created the TS, which is the TypeScript type. And if you see, I can go ahead and show you what I have created. Now this is one of the scripts that I have written for the CDK to understand and create an S3 bucket. For example, I have written this, and then you can see that I have provided the bucket name here, which, as I said, it has to be unique. It cannot be the bucket name that has already been created or present. The bucket names need to be unique. I need to provide a unique name, and I have provided that. Bucket ownership, bucket owner is enforced, public block public access. I have blocked public access as of now, and remove key policy is destroy. So when we remove or when we delete the infrastructure, it will destroy this particular bucket as well. Alright, now next, what do I need to do? Let's go here and check. I need to run npm run build. This will create the project for me, and it will create a build for me in order for it to deploy. I need to go one step back. I need to be outside of the library for this to run. I say npm run build, and this builds the project for us so that it can be deployed. Okay, let's wait for this to get created or the project to be built. And if at all there are any new things that you have provided in your script, it will get all the libraries and all the packages and then install it for you, and then build project as I said for you. Alright guys, I can see that there is nothing new for that. And then the next thing we need to do is do a CDK bootstrap. Now what this command does is it will talk to your environment, look at all of the settings or all of the configurations that are present in your environment, and then check the last time that I had bootstrapped, is the environment still the same or it has changed over time? Are there any configurations that have changed over time? And if not, it will say there are no changes. As you can see, no changes were detected. As it says, there are no changes that were detected, so you don't have to worry. You just have to run this just to be sure if there are any changes, and when you're trying to deploy, this would fail if the environment is not properly bootstrapped, guys. So I would highly recommend, it just takes few seconds for it to run, but it is always definitely recommended to run the CDK bootstrap command. Now the next command would be to synthesize. It is called CDK synth. Now what this does is, this will create a CloudFormation template out of the CDK or out of the script that we had written. Now I showed you one script, and that script it is a very simple script. AWS CloudFormation actually doesn't understand the script. It is for the CDK. It is for us to develop the script in a very easy and meaningful manner. Now once I do that, and once I say synth, it synthesizes a CloudFormation template. And as I said before, CloudFormation is the IAC, the infrastructure as a code tool that is for the AWS itself. And if you can see, it has created in what is called a YAML format, where you can see that it has given a lot of information for the CloudFormation to understand what is it that is required, what kind of infrastructure that is required to create. Alright guys, so it has synthesized the CloudFormation template. Now when I say CDK deploy, that is the command which deploys this infrastructure to the actual AWS environment, guys. So when I say CDK deploy, this again tries to synthesize that internally, but then it shows that it is starting to, all right, there is some issue that it says. Let me pause it here. Hello guys, so welcome back, and let me explain what happened. So while I was looking at S3 buckets and I was trying to empty the S3 buckets, I was trying to empty and remove all the buckets that were previously created for testing purposes. By mistake, I also deleted the CDK toolkit bucket. Now what happens is, when you create a cloud formation, or when you say bootstrapping, when you're trying to bootstrap an environment, the CDK in turn creates a bucket which has all the configurations which are related to the cloud formation. All right, and while I was trying to delete the previous buckets, I by mistake I had deleted the bucket as well, which contained all of these configurations, and that's the reason why you could see the error in previous while we were trying to deploy the CDK. But now I have removed the CDK toolkit from the cloud formation itself. I've deleted that, and I've retried to bootstrap the environment again, and as you can see, it has bootstrapped the environment. And when you go back to the S3, if you see, this is the cloud formation toolkit, the CDK toolkit configuration that it had created, the cloud formation stack that it had created. And if you see, there are two buckets, the bucket that we had just created, and there is one bucket that has the configurations that are required by the cloud formation. Now if I say AWS S3 LS here, I should be able to see two buckets, the bucket that we had already created for testing purposes, as well as the CDK created bucket. Alright, let me just try to clear this, and then let me just try to run the CDK deploy and CDK synth and deploy command again. Now as I said, the CDK synth command synthesizes or creates the cloud formation template for the code that we have written. The code was pretty simple, but if you see after the synthesis, the cloud formation template that it has created is pretty huge, pretty lengthy, and it has all the details that are required for it to create the resources, specifically the S3 bucket here. The name of the S3 bucket that I have provided is here. This is the name of the S3 bucket that I have provided. And one very important thing, if you remove this particular line altogether, CDK will create a unique bucket name. Alright guys, so if you want CDK to create its own unique bucket, you can do that. Or if you need to create the bucket for say development purposes or for say production purposes, you just have to give different names while you are running the infrastructure, else it will fail, because the S3 bucket names have to be unique across the globe and across the accounts, guys. Alright, let's go back, and now we have already synthesized. Let's say AWS deploy and see that it works this time. Sorry, it was CDK deploy, not AWS deploy. Right. When I say CDK deploy, now it will understand that it has to deploy this infrastructure, specifically the S3 bucket that we were creating. It understands that it has to create this infrastructure, and it tries to create the cloud formation stack, and it will give you a brief blueprint of what the CDK stack or the cloud formation stack would actually look, and only after you say yes, it will go ahead and deploy. So now if you see, it is saying that it will create the S3 bucket. The actions that are required are S3, so this is the S3 bucket policy that it is trying to create, and only after you say yes, it will create the bucket. Now guys, if you see here, the name of the bucket is, this is the name of the bucket, my test bucket CDK and today's date, if you see. And if you go back to S3 and then check, there is no such bucket as of now. If you see, there are only two buckets, and only when I say yes, it will start creating that infrastructure using the cloud formation template. Let's wait for it to get completed, and then it will also tell you how much time it took to complete this S3 bucket creation. And then when you can go back and see that it has created the bucket, guys. Now what I'll do is I'll also remove that name, the bucket name that I had shown. I'll also remove that line and then do the npm build again, and then CDK synthesize and then CDK deploy again, just in order for you to see that how this CDK actually creates a unique bucket. I know guys, this is confusing, but if you are confused, just look at this line again, or just wait for a live demo that I'll show you so that you can understand. Let's wait for this AWS to complete. Now see, while we were waiting, it has completed. It has just taken 62 seconds. And when we go back and then just refresh this, you can see that there is another bucket that is created. Sorry, not this. This is the bucket that is created by the CloudFormation template. Alright guys. Now, as I said, I'll go back here and then I'll remove this line. Okay, I'll just remove this line, keep it here so that it can be easy. Now I've removed the bucket name and I have asked CDK to create a unique bucket name for itself. Now I'll say npm run build. It's always better to do this because you never know if there are any changes, if there are any new libraries that have come in, or if your code has some libraries that have been changed and it has to download those libraries to create a proper build. It is always better to go ahead and do the npm build always after you have done a code changes. Alright, this is done. Let's do a SDK synth. As I said, synth will create a long YAML file which the CloudFormation will understand. It will create a YAML file which is lengthy enough, which is very clear, precise for the AWS formation to understand. If you see, it has created that. Now I'll say CDK deploy. Now guys, tell me whether it will fail or whether it will create the bucket. You can pause the video for and then think about the answer. Alright, now thank you for pausing and coming back. If I say CDK deploy, it will definitely create a new bucket because, as I said, now we are giving CDK the power to create the name, a unique name of the bucket, and it will create the bucket. If you see, we just have 3 buckets. This was the bucket that we had created. This was the configuration bucket that CDK itself has created, and this is the bucket that is created by the CDK when we gave the name to it. Alright? But if you come back here and then see, it is starting to create the stack where the CloudFormation template, where it will create its own bucket name, a unique bucket name that is unique across the globe, across all the users, across all the accounts, and then it will deploy this infrastructure, guys. Isn't that amazing? Yes, that is the power of leveraging the CDK. This is not just for S3, it is for any resources that you want to create within the AWS space. Let's wait for it to create. We're deploying that. It is saying that this will be the unique name for the bucket. Along with that, it will add some more prefix so that it can make it more unique. Let's wait for it to get created. Right now, if you see, it has created the AWS S3 bucket. It's a different bucket. Now, if you see, there are only 3 buckets. Once I refresh, you will be able to see different buckets. Now, if you see, this is one of the buckets that it has created. It has actually done, it has removed the previous bucket that was created and it has created a new bucket because it is the same infrastructure. So it has removed the previous bucket and it has created a new unique bucket with its own naming convention. So it has treated this as an update. If you can understand that it has treated this as an update, wherein it has destroyed the existing bucket, removed the existing bucket, and has created a new one. You have to be very careful because if you have already used the bucket and if you have made the changes to this infrastructure script that you have, it will obviously update the existing infrastructure. So you'll have to be very careful about it, guys. One of the main advantages of using IAC infrastructure as a code is that I know what infrastructure I have created and it is easy for me to destroy the infrastructure. I just have to say CDK destroy and it will destroy all of the infrastructure that is created using this stack. Yes guys, it is that simple. It just destroys the infrastructure using just this CDK destroy command. Now if you do this manually, think about it, if you do this manually manually, you will not have a tab on what are the resources that you have created. Probably you have created 4 lambdas, CSV buckets, API gateways, and RDS instances, and CLIs, as I said, and cloud formation templates. So if these are all the infrastructure that you have created over a period of time, you might not keep a tab, or you might not even remember what infrastructures you have created. You just have to put everything in this script, which is also called IAC, infrastructure as a code. You just have to put everything here. Everything will be taken care here, and then if you want to update, you can do the update here. Just deploy that updates, and then if you have to destroy the infrastructure, saving you massive amount of costs, you can still do that. Now guys, if you go back and look at here, and if I update this, you see that the bucket that was created will be destroyed. Now I remember I told you that there will be 4 buckets, but it was an update command, so it had deleted the existing bucket and then created a new bucket. And if you refresh it again, it will just show 2 buckets, the bucket that we had created and the configuration bucket that the AWS had created for the cloud formation. Alright guys, that is what I wanted to tell you. I'm very happy that you stayed till the end to understand how the infrastructure is created. If you have not seen my previous videos, please go back to the same channel, The Cloud Minds. Look at all the videos that I have tried to give previously, where I've tried to explain what is cloud, where I've tried to explain how to create S3 infrastructure. There are different contents that I've tried to give whatever the knowledge that I have on the AWS cloud, and I'm trying to empower you so that you guys can get mastery in the AWS cloud computing or the cloud technology, and then you can demand a better pay and a better life and a better project or a better prospect for yourself, and you can shine in your company and in your life, guys. That is what my ultimate goal is. And also friends, I will be taking one-to-one classes. If you think that you can get a mastery over the AWS, please do not hesitate to contact me via the comments. You can contact me. I'll provide my details in the comments. You can definitely contact me on my email address, which is tejasv.mahendrakar@gmail.com. That is my email address. You can always contact me on my email address, and you can also visit my LinkedIn profile. As I said, I am a technical project manager working with one of the reputed companies. My name on LinkedIn is Tejas Mahendrakar. You can try and search for it, and if you get it, please do not hesitate to connect with me. And lastly, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe and share this with your friends. Alright guys, this is Tejas signing off, and have a great day.